Tammy's Boy Podcast is intended for entertainment purposes only. Jon Carden is not a licensed therapist. He is just a friend.
All right. Welcome in, everybody. Another fun-filled episode of Tammy's Boy, where we talk about childhoods, and sometimes it gets sticky, sometimes it gets smooth. You never know what you're going to get. You just get in a groove. Anyway, I'm going to keep that.
That's a new one.
You know me at this point. I'm John. Had a crazy childhood. My mom used food stamps for cigarettes, so I've been around. But before we get into it, before we get into the episode, before I introduce our amazing guest, a few beautiful words from my man, Mr. Cole Garrett.
Tammy's kids, how the hell are we doing? We got another one coming at you right now. Guys, you know where to find us. Full episode is on YouTube. Full episode is also on Spotify, and the audio is on all of your other podcast listening platforms. Guys, if you have a crazy story, right? If you have a Tammy of your own, mom, dad, sister, uncle, doesn't matter, whoever it is, crazy individual, email us. Email us at TammysBoyPodcast@gmail.com, and we will read those stories on the air. Also, we're starting to ask some different kind of questions, get into the psychology of our guest parents, and we need your guys' help, right? If you guys have any questions that you want us to read, or just anything at all, put it in the comment section down below, okay? Or wherever you're watching. Also, don't forget to put a star, like, comment, subscribe, whatever you guys can do. We love you. We're going to stay here every Wednesday. We're coming out. John, that's enough out of me. Tell the people who we got on the couch today.
He's so good, right?
I know. Have you ever done announcing for sports?
Negative.
He would be amazing.
Yes, I want to hear you announce a baseball game.
Oh, that would be pretty nice.
I
Thank
could
you.
see him doing like a more off-kilter white sport like lacrosse.
Yeah, maybe. I might be what golf needs.
Oh, you're the new exciting voice of golf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can whisper with excitement.
Yeah. Because I think I'm a better
He's on the
Like
I
a
love how you're like, let's keep him on white sports.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's been an issue.
Okay.
Don't put me in a corner.
Yeah, you remember. We had Jamisha Aldo on, and
oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I was like, what is he talking about?
Colt laughed at a very funny moment to laugh. At a point where only a true clan member would laugh in that moment, and it's not indicative of anything. Colt's not a racist.
No.
I trust that. I know that.
I got hours at this point of me being a very open-minded person.
I don't think you wear a shirt like that if you're racist.
Hawaiian shirts had a pretty bad rap for a while there.
Oh.
It could be a good racist disguise. But all right, let's get into it. The guest we have on today is a good friend of mine, great comic, tours all over. Is open for one of my good friends, Sophie Buddle.
Yay.
I love her to death. It's Gretchen Dietz, everybody.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Welcome.
Yeah, glad you're here.
Glad you're here. Glad I'm here too.
So you've opened for Soph a few times now.
Yes. I got lucky where I kind of just started hitting up clubs within Texas being like, hi, I can host, just kind of like push out beyond Austin.
Yeah.
And one of the clubs I asked was Houston Punchline because it was new.
Okay.
And I was like, maybe I can slide in there since they're still figuring things out. This was like a year and a half ago when they just opened. And the booker just matched me with her, which was like, what a great stroke of luck, because then she was like, she's so sweet. You've met her. She's lovely.
Yeah, I know her really well.
And she was like, great job, Diva. Open for me again. And then it was just kind of kept rolling from there. So whenever I talk to other comics, they're like, oh yeah, that's how it happens. You meet someone and they're like, oh, I kind of see what you're doing. It's kind of like what I'm doing. And they give you a chance, and then they like hanging out with you. They'll kind of keep it coming. So, but I'm like, ooh, I got really lucky that I got to meet her.
Yeah, she's awesome. And Mace is awesome too. I don't know if you've met Mace. He's great.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I love both of them. I think they're both cool people. I met them originally at Skankfest, and they were trying to get this poster, and Clay was being Clay about the posters at Skankfest.
Clay from Creek?
Yeah, people had stolen a bunch over the years, and they were being extremely militant about making sure nobody stole them.
Clay loves to tell the rules.
He does. He's a rule guy. Yeah, I've watched him walk a couple people out of that green room in Skankfest that a little bit too entitled, and he enjoyed doing it. But yeah, there was this art, I think of Mace or so for Shane Gill. I can't remember who it was, but they really wanted this thing, and I guess they had taken it and gotten caught. And so I went and did what I do, which is diplomacy. I went and navigated the waters of the relationships that I've had for years with Clay, and I managed to free the art piece and give it to Soph and Mace, and we were friends cool ever since. Done a few festivals together, and we always tend to find each other and hang out a little bit. But truly, one of the nicest and kindest people that I've met in comedy.
Yeah,
and Sophie's amazing. I'll have her on whenever I meant to have her on last time she was in town, but I think I ended up on the road myself. So that's always the conflict about having comics come in from out of town is I'm never here.
Mm-hmm.
That's what sucks.
Yeah. So I'm too busy
weekdays.
working.
I'm too busy working. Fortunately, this weekend I had a Thursday and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. So we always start this off real simply. It's who raised you?
Oh, my parents, who are old Catholic boomers.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, we know those.
Yeah.
Have you
We're
met
familiar
them?
with those.
My dad's Protestant, but you know.
Well, then this
Same.
won't be relevant to you. Just like real old school strict.
Okay. What did they do while you were growing up? What was their profession?
My dad was like a school principal, and then he became like a school superintendent.
Oh man.
Public
Yeah.
school, and my
Good.
mom was a teacher, so they were just very like teacher rules, calendars. Like
School was extremely
school
important.
was extreme.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 teachers in the house. I imagine your dad was a teacher at some point,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So you've got 2 educators in the house. So that's academic expectations out the ass.
Yeah, totally. And also, I grew up in a small town, so it wasn't like there was a lot of other cool stuff to be getting into.
Okay.
So, some people might be like, oh yeah, my parents were like these nerds, but I was like doing other cool stuff. And it's like, there is nothing to do.
Yeah.
Like if you're in a small rural town and like, this is like,
Where was your small town?
it's like, kind of like, have you heard of like Lehigh Valley, PA at all? Pennsylvania?
Lehigh University.
Yeah. It's like kind of between like that area and like Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, like the middle,
Mhm.
but then also like it's just kind of in this in-between land where it's just
Okay.
like rural farmlands of Pennsylvania.
Mhm.
And it's like, yeah,
Not quite Amish country,
I was
but
about to ask
adjacent.
Amish.
real adjacent. Definitely some of like the neighbors were
Yeah.
great farm stands.
Yeah.
We love a
Yeah.
produce stand. But if you're a kid, and this is also, I think we're probably about the same age, like this is before smartphones.
Yeah.
So you're just like,
You're stuck out
you're just
there.
like bored and like reading a magazine. Like, I hope I can get out of this town.
Yeah. I was on a tobacco farm from the time I was 9 to the time I was 17. And our
Wow.
closest neighbor was a quarter mile away, and it was my step grandparents.
Wow.
So we were out
You're like
tucked,
isolated.
tucked away in the middle of nowhere. So I definitely relate.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And there's nothing to do. You make your own fun. And I never made the fun that like my stepdads would always want me to be like Davy Crockett or like the kid from Where the Wild Fern Grows.
Like play outside.
Yeah, well, I mean, like they want me to
Get
like,
out of here,
go
John.
get lost in the woods for 3 or 4 days. That's what I did as a kid, and I'm like, no, it's
Is that
fucking
what you did at your wilderness camp?
yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
But I'm like, no, we've got Sega. You know what I mean? Like, why am I going to go to I've got Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah.
You think Sonic the Hedgehog? You think the woods can compete with fucking Miles and
Yeah.
Dr. Robotnik?
We're so similar because we also had the woods and Sonic
Yeah.
on Sega Dreamcast. So
Oh my gosh.
is that
wow.
that was one you can hold?
The Dreamcast was the one that came out after the Genesis. The Genesis is the one that I had. So I might be a little bit
What's
older.
the one you could like hold and play in the car?
Oh, that was the Game Gear.
Okay.
I had that. I had one of those too. My dad got it from a pawn shop.
Hell yeah.
Yep. I remember. The Game Boys, the Game Gears.
Mhm.
It was a status symbol when you were a kid, dude.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it was the same as like having Louis Vuitton now. If you popped out in the late 90s with a Game Gear, dude, you were the man. You owned it, dude.
Mm-hmm.
So both parents were educators.
Yeah.
Did you have any siblings?
I have one brother,
Older or younger?
2 years younger than me.
Okay, so
He
you're
was
the
the one that
oldest.
had the gear that we're talking about, Sonic stuff. But yeah, also I think, I don't know, I feel like there's a trend now online to be like, are you an eldest daughter? And I was like, get over it. But now I'm like, that is maybe a thing. Because like society is like harder on girls than
Yeah.
boys. And like, I think families are just harder on the first child
Mm.
because the parents are maybe don't know their
Yeah.
parenting style yet.
Yeah, they're figuring it out. They're basically
And-
still kids.
Well, mine were a little older,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's like
Yeah.
their first time doing it. So I think
Yeah.
they're a little maybe tougher. So
How
I'm like,
old were your parents when
Yeah.
you were born?
I think they were like 36 when they had me.
Okay.
So not
Hey, that's not too
Crazy,
old, but
yeah.
also not that young either. Yeah.
Yeah.
but
honestly-
also for a first kid though.
Yeah, it is.
It is older.
It's modest.
Yeah, modest is a good way to say that.
I'd say it's modest.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, it's interesting. So they were like pretty seasoned in life, but they've already done a bunch, right?
I guess, but also like
Superintendent, you know.
Yeah, but it's weird because I was thinking, I don't know. I would always I've had trouble kind of separating myself from their expectations, which I've just started to do and be like, this is my life and I don't need to answer to anybody. And also, a lot of comedians, I think they did not get enough validation or attention from their parents. And that's why let me entertain you. That's why we do. That's why this is so fun. And then you realize you're just never going to get it from them. And it's okay.
Yeah.
And just kind of stop keep expecting it and being disappointed. So I've just been okay, I'm doing my thing. But I was just realizing recently, because I'm I don't think really understood what I was doing with doing comedy or moving. I moved from Philly to here in Austin, and that's pretty wild.
The big move.
And
it's pretty far from home too.
Yeah. They
different
were
culturally too.
very lukewarm on that. But I was how sometimes you just have a realization and you're oh, I was literally in my kitchen, just doing dishes. And I was they never left. I was oh, because I'm they're my all-knowing parents. And I'm they were born in Pennsylvania and they worked there and they're still there. And they've learned and they're educator people and they've traveled, but they never left. So I'm of course they would say, don't do that. Cause they don't have experience doing that.
Absolutely.
And then I was oh, well, it's just, I wanted to do something different and it's turning out really well.
Yeah.
Well, they're trying to teach you what was comfortable to them.
Yeah.
And I think we've learned that comfort doesn't allow you to grow.
Totally.
You kind of stay the same when you're comfortable. Right.
And I'll also say, and that leads into that, but it's also their perspective is coming from a smaller town too. It's leaving and going to doing something in show business of any kind. That's a fucking pipe dream. What
I know.
You know,
that's not for people like us.
Also, they have a small town lens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They look at the world differently than a lot of people do culturally just because of the sample size that they've been given.
Totally. I remember one time talking to a Black friend in Philly and they were a teacher and they were I never knew you could be a teacher because in my neighborhood, I never knew a teacher and I just never met one and I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah.
And I was oh, similarly, my town might be I didn't know you could do showbiz because we've never had one of those come out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just people are limited in ways they might not even be aware of.
Absolutely.
And that's fine. But I don't know. I'm so glad I stopped listening to them because my life is going so well.
Yeah.
And I'm sometimes I'm kicking myself that I didn't do it sooner. But then I feel you learn things when you learn them.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah. Everything's supposed to be learned in time.
I sure hope so. And there's definitely more learning to do. But I think getting away from your family, geographically, can be a really incredible time of growth.
It can be eye-opening.
You get away from that noise that you can't really get out of if you're kind of caught up in it. And then I think if you're literally still living at home, then it's the expectations is oh, it's whoever's birthday, you're going to be at that, or it's a picnic, and you're kind of just trapped. Which if you have a good dynamic in your family, it's probably lovely.
It's great, right?
But if
you get community, love, all these things.
I see why people if someone wants to be born and never leave their town and have a beautiful life, I think that's incredible. I don't judge anyone, but that wasn't my way.
Yeah. I was literally talking about this, on the last episode, where it's what's comfort to the spider is chaos to the fly.
Oh.
It's an ancient Chinese proverb.
Because the fly is going to get trapped in the web?
No, because the fly isn't home there.
Oh.
And for the fly, it's complete chaos. He's about to get eaten.
Oh, you're just in the wrong environment.
What's chaos to the fly is comfort to the spider.
Yeah.
And so for me, mundanity, the low vibration life is what I call it. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I just mean there's a high vibration and a low vibration kind of person. And I think a lower vibration person is not a bad thing. You're just more okay with the mundanity. You're more okay with the 9 to 5. You're more okay with the simplicity of family, of the simple dynamic of life where you just go do something on the weekend, you work your job, you come home, you watch your shows, and it's rinse and repeat for the next 25 years. I know so many people that have lived like that and had beautiful, happy lives. And they were just lower vibration people. Those things made them content. They found content in the simplicity. But I was not that person. For me, that's maddening.
Same.
It's literally the idea of torture is making me do the exact same thing every day. Rinse and repeat. with the only variation really coming in the food I decide to eat and the clothes I decide to wear. But every other activity is pretty much the same.
Totally. I feel like if I can predict how every day is going to go, I should be like dead.
Absolutely.
I'm like, I can't imagine. It's like, what's the point? It's so boring.
Yeah.
It's so painfully boring that I would probably like self-destruct, which is why I relate to, because I think some people see me and they're like, oh, maybe for Austin comedy, I read like a little preppy, or like, they're like, oh, and I'm like, no, I'm just as crazy as you all are. It just comes out, we all come from different places, but like, I think.
Well, you have diction. You know what I mean? You're not.
Oh. That's just because of my teacher parents.
Like you enunciate. You know what I mean?
I don't have that Southern accent some of these guys have yet. But
such a funny compliment. You enunciate. That's
but I do relate, and I mean maybe like more like the comedy like bad boy types that maybe had like addiction problems or like behavioral problems. They might see me as like, oh, you seem like a nice girl, and I'm like, no, but still, if you put me in an office cubicle and tell me to work 9 to 5, I'm gonna like break the computer.
Yeah.
I just can't do it. It just doesn't work.
Not
And
in your
I
wheelhouse.
tried to be normal and I'm just not.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that vibration way to look at it. 'Cause I'm like, there's something about some people's personalities, you and me, where like we need like novelty or fear or some element of
Stimulation.
we need something different than normal stuff.
Absolutely.
And that's fine. And I think if once you realize that and you can get yourself in the right situations where you get that and you get to give it back and grow with it, then it's beautiful. But if you're when they try to put you in a little cog and you can't go, I mean, it just doesn't work.
I know. I know. The idea of just sitting on a porch, looking out into a farm was so appealing to so many people. Just the idea of that, right? But I'm like, if I'm sitting there, do I have weed? You know what I mean? Because if I have weed, I'll sit there a while. But if there's no weed, what are we doing? You know what I mean? Why are we on the porch?
Yeah.
And
So you have trouble like relaxing, like you don't really have chill?
No, I mean, I definitely use weed for that.
Okay.
100%. Yeah. I definitely have trouble relaxing. And it's just from my childhood. I've processed some trauma, not all of it. Yeah, I'm still working on it.
Mm-hmm. We're trying to monetize the rest here.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. I mean, you're chilling pretty hard in that chair, so.
There's marijuana on me. Yeah, just want to be honest here. Amongst friends. There's a reason I am the way I am. And, no, but it's not that I have trouble relaxing. I think I have trouble quieting my thoughts. I think they get really loud. And sometimes, based on how I grew up, they don't say the best things.
Yeah.
You got that inner monologue yapping.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And weed has always kind of quieted that for me. I quit drinking booze.
I was wondering.
Yeah, I quit booze 2.5 years ago. And that was just because the weed would quiet it, but then the booze would bring it back out. You know what I mean? The weed would make it quiet, but the booze.
Hey, Larry.
And then all of a sudden my inner monologue becomes the outer monologue.
I'm like, wait, what does the weed voice sound like versus the booze voice?
Yeah. The weed's comfort is like, slow down, baby.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Go ahead, relax in that chair. You know you need it. And then Boo's voice is like, hey, boy, get up and do something.
Oh, my God.
So I'm guessing you played sports.
Yeah, because I'm a tall girl and I'm wearing these pants.
Yeah.
Also small town tall girl.
Yeah.
That's a thing as well.
Volleyball, basketball.
Basketball.
And there wasn't much to do in the town.
Yeah.
So you had to do something.
Yes.
And I know that you had to please the parents.
Right.
Because they demanded extracurriculars, I assume. Right? It's not a hard line to draw. So did you like playing sports?
I loved playing basketball. I was pretty obsessed. I also grew really fast. I was like almost this tall in middle school. I'm 6 feet tall.
Yeah.
So
congratulations.
Thank you.
Jeez.
One of my like early open micro jokes, I was like, if you're this tall as a girl in middle school, they just put you right on the team. It's like an auto draft.
There's no tryout process.
They're like, we have something for you.
Yeah.
But
we'll train you.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were like, just go stand under the basket. You'll catch on. But my parents were pretty into basketball. My dad was. So it was a natural thing. We had a basketball hoop in the driveway and we were always shooting around. So that was fun. And then it was fun to play sports because then you get some camaraderie, you get some teamwork going on, and you get reasons to travel. Because I did that like AAU basketball where you do like weekend tournaments.
Okay,
so you get to play with. Yeah. So I was pretty into it, and it was fun.
I love basketball. I'm a huge fan. I grew up in North Carolina, so.
Oh, Tar Heels. And then when we were growing up, they were big.
Yeah.
I was just talking to Kyle Post about this because he kind of likes them. And I was like, I feel like when I was in middle school, everyone was wearing like baby blue, that powder blue, and the Tar Heels were like just Carolina like blue, a cool thing.
Yeah, they were cool. And it was a lot of the teams. I mean, Roy Williams was the man. But I've got his book. If anybody ever wants to read it, it's a great book. I grew up. It's hard because like there was economic involvement when it comes to, or economic bias when it comes to Duke and UNC. And there's the biggest rivalry, I think, in sports, other than maybe Michigan and Ohio State. Duke and UNC is up there.
Yeah. What's the economic piece?
So Duke is borderline, I would say, Ivy League.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if it's not Ivy League, it's on the cusp. Right, UNC is
it's the rich kid school. UNC is for the common man.
It's the state school. Yeah,
really, because Chapel Hill is so pretty.
Chapel Hill is gorgeous, and that campus is gorgeous. And so you wouldn't think that, but Carolina has programs like the Carolina Covenant, where you can go to work for the state or the school for 4 years and get an entirely free education and just work part-time. And so Carolina was always doing things to help people get an education, whereas Duke was like, if you're rich, Indian, or Asian, we'll let you in.
Okay.
And
interesting, getting some lore here.
And so it was very divided. And it always bothered me when poor people pulled for Duke. Because I'm like, that school would never allow you to go there. Mm-hmm. You don't have the economic means. You know what I mean? Like, dude, you live in a trailer. Why are you pulling for the Duke fucking Blue Devils?
Nothing gets me fired up like poor whites cheering for Duke.
Nothing makes me madder, okay? And they're like, well, I don't like UNC because it's a hood school. Go to the hood school. The hood school's a cool school. Like
This is like a little microcosm of everything that's wrong with like America and politics.
Oh, absolutely.
Just in like in this tiny regional school.
Absolutely. It's everything that's wrong. It was a socioeconomic war is what it was, just disguised as a college basketball rivalry.
We need a 6-episode Netflix documentary about this.
Oh, please. I would love it. There's a book called Duke Sucks. It's a great read. Okay. Coach K, I hated him. I grew up hating that university. We had to go there on a tour when I was a kid, and I refused to high five Shane Battier.
Oh my God. I haven't thought about that name in a minute, but
Shane Battier.
Wow.
He played for Duke.
Wow.
Yep. I was, so I grew up a huge basketball fan. Did you get recruited for college?
So, yes and no.
Okay.
I wasn't like a crazy standout star where it was like the press is here, but I was like decent for like my county.
Yeah.
But for school, I had an English teacher that I really loved, and she was like, I want to show you my college. I think you would like it. And I was like, oh, this place is really nice. And she was like, you know, they have a basketball team, and I met with them, and they were like, oh, we'll send a coach out to watch your games. And they're like, yeah, you can play. And I was like, oh, cool. I'll go to this like cute like Catholic liberal arts college that's like an hour away. That seems like cool, and I can play. And then I was at some like tournament, and the coach from Dickinson College called, and they were like, oh, we really liked how you played, and we'd love for you to like come out. And my parents were like, dude, this school, it's a small liberal arts college in like central PA, but it's kind of uppity and like more expensive. The other one was private school too, but there was some scholarship stuff going on. And this one was like, my parents were like, it costs like the same as Harvard. No. Yeah. And they were just like, no, you're not even looking at that. And I was like, you know, you're 18. What do you know? Yeah. So I was just like, okay, I'll go to this like other like little school. And I played 1 year in college, and then I was like, I don't know, this takes up like every minute of your waking hour. And I was like, dude, I don't think this time is like worth it. And I wanted to just like get into other things. Like I was really into like, oh, I want to do like creative writing club and like run the newspaper. And I made friends with all the film guys because the school had a good like TV film program. And I was like, oh, this is cool. They're like making films, and you kind of hang out and maybe be in some, or I just wanted to do like all that stuff and just have fun and like go to parties. I wasn't like a big crazy party person, but I wanted to like hang out and enjoy.
Go socially. Yeah. Cause when you're a college athlete, It's
Yeah.
just that
Yeah.
for 4 years. And then Enterprise rental car.
That's weird. Well, I would say some of the girls like did play all 4 years and then went on to have like coaching careers. And I think that's a good path because sometimes you could be like D3 women's basketball. Like what are you doing? Because you're not going to go to like the WNBA or anything. But like some people really do. Like athletics is cool, and some people do make their profession that, and like it is cool. But I was just kind of like, I want to do different things.
It's also one of those things too, like growing up, like and starting sports very young. Like how old were you whenever you first started basketball?
Probably like 11 or something.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, it's like almost like that's all you've devoted your life to, and it kind of feels like, well, there's other things I want to try. You know,
I haven't even thought about that in literally years, maybe like 20 years. But I do remember like having a little bit of an identity crisis when I was like, I don't think I want to go back and play next season. Because you're like, but that's who I am.
Yeah.
I'm basketball girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's who you are. That's what you do. That's not who you are.
Right.
Yeah.
But you don't know that when you're
a kid and you're 18 years old. Yeah. There's no perspective there. It's all your entire identity.
Yeah. And it's true for like anybody if you are doing a certain thing just for a number of years. I mean, you see people our parents' age, if they like retire, some people just have a full on meltdown.
Yeah.
Because their identity is just gone.
Mm-hmm.
Well, where I see it the most is, I know Colt has seen it as well. It's people getting out of the military after 20 years.
Oh, yeah.
That's the biggest one where I've seen where it's like sometimes a complete culture shock.
Yeah.
I've got a friend, Dave. Shout out to Dave. Okay. One of the best guys I've ever met in my entire life. I saw him when I was in Phoenix. He's an amazing dude. He was a Marine Corps gunny, 20 years, was a recruiter, did the whole thing, you know, the entire Marine Corps career. His place has a couch, a TV stand, a TV, a footlocker, a table, and a bed.
Yeah.
And that's his furniture.
Yeah.
He could literally ship out. He's been out of the military for 15 years.
Yeah.
He still has a high and tight. He still works out every day. He still gets up at a certain time, goes to bed at a certain time. Discipline. It never left him.
It was just like in his bones.
It's
That's
in him.
how he does it.
Exactly. And
because
so
it's especially with something like that. I mean, from my experience of like being in it, it is who you are.
Yeah.
You know,
I've seen it. Like what you do long enough can become your entire identity and who you are.
And maybe
so separating that when you're 18 years old has to be absolutely fucking crazy because I've watched grown men not be able to do that. You know, that are in their 40s. Yeah. You know, they're still literally waking up at 06 in the morning, going to run 3 miles, and then, you know, having the exact same schedule they had in the military. Yeah. They can't break from it because it's comfortable, right? And we talked about that. It's like you find comfort and
Well, don't you think some people just need structure? It's like why some people are like religious. Like some people just need a system that works.
Well, I heard something really profound, and it was that discipline is the most difficult form of self-love. And people that are the most disciplined actually tend to love themselves the most.
Because they like have a handle on it?
Yeah, essentially. And that always, that kind of struck me.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. I can see that going the far way too.
Yeah.
Like too much discipline.
Well, I mean, that's when it comes to, you know, self-love.
Yeah, that's true.
That's how it relates. It's like too much discipline is punishment.
Well, I guess you could also say that if you are like well-rounded enough where you do have that full discipline, you can also like have discipline with how much you shit on yourself. Yeah. You know?
Well, it's about giving yourself it's about giving yourself what you need.
Yeah, right.
And discipline is a form of that. Yeah. And so I've always respected the guys that could do that. That could get up 6 o'clock in the morning, go run 3 miles, make themselves breakfast, do all the things that a functional human, you know, does that we would describe as a functional human. But for them, it's just normal. It's just what you're supposed to do.
Interesting. So many different ways to live.
Yeah.
Oh, so many.
It just makes me think like, you know how your childhood, whatever it was, you just think that's like reality because you're like, you just don't have any comparison.
Yeah. I thought everyone had crazy childhood.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. So people that grow up with their parents like screaming at each other, like they're like, oh, that's what family is like. And then that's
what a marriage looks like.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
but that's how patterns repeat.
Yeah.
Right. Because they're just like doing the same. But But mine was so strict and I didn't realize till I left. And then I met people whose parents were like, oh, like, you know, come back whenever you want. Or like meet people where they're like, oh, we're not like that religious. My parents said I could kind of try out a bunch of things. I'm like, you're allowed to like try out things and come and go as you please. I mean, if I said I was going to be home at a certain time and I was home like a couple minutes late, it was like, you may as well have, it's like you're going to hell. Like, so I see why parents like discipline. It did keep me from getting in trouble, but at the same time, it's like a little overkill.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I think I should say self-discipline is the greatest
if
form
you've chosen
of self-love.
it for yourself.
Yeah. Choosing it for yourself is the greatest form of self-love.
Yeah.
And that goes into something I've talked about on the podcast before, the difference between discipline and punishment.
What do you think that is?
I think it's a fine line. And I think it comes down to, you know, construction versus destruction. And I think when you're punishing, you're trying to destruct a certain behavior. But when you're disciplining, you're trying to construct a certain behavior. You're trying to build a certain behavior, right? Punishment is for killing certain actions and discipline is for growing them.
Yeah. I'm glad you made that distinction because when you're talking about the discipline of the guys like getting up and running every morning, I'm like,
the self-discipline.
I'm like, are you doing that because like that's a habit you stand by? That's a core of like, you care about your health. You care about, you know, maximizing your hours in your day. You don't want to waste time. You want to be like engaged in life. Like that's good. But if you're just like, I hate myself so much, I have to run 10 miles or I'm a failure, then that could be bad.
Absolutely.
Because I've been there too.
Been there. Yeah, for sure.
So there is that line where you're like, am I actually, you know, doing things in a healthy way and not like punishing myself for my demons I haven't dealt with?
And I think that really goes into paying attention to your needs and being able to identify your needs. You know, I think everyone needs to move, right? Everybody needs that.
You think everyone, I've not move like away from your town, but literally like physically. Yeah.
Some sort of movement.
Yeah.
Being sedentary and sitting down all the time, scientifically, it's been proven over and over again. And, you know, just through life, we all know that person that had to sit around and didn't do anything. Their life didn't matter. They didn't really, not say it mattered, but it didn't amount to anything. They didn't move. You need movement, right? And so love is another need, and, you know, affection. And there's so many needs that you have to meet, and you have to know how much they mean to you.
And they could probably change in importance over time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
you said your parents were pretty Catholic, so I'm assuming you grew up in the church a lot, or? Yeah,
just like kind of that rigid structure of like every Sunday.
Yeah.
And then like Sunday, like CCD Sunday school after and like.
So you did mass, confession, and the whole thing?
Yeah, tradition and.
Did you say, were you in a Catholic school or just public?
I actually went to public school and then I went to Catholic school for college, which is like, dude.
Yeah, right.
I could have gone to state school and just gone crazy. I don't know. But I was just looking for someone to guide me to the next thing, I guess.
Yeah.
Penn State is a party school. Yeah.
Then I would have been in rehab probably.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You'd probably be out by now, you know. But never know.
Penn State's a real party school. Or I was joking with friends because, I was hanging out with Kyle Post and Kenzie and a bunch of people. So it's Kyle's birthday and we were all at Fraser's and Kyle was like, are you in your Southern Belle era? Because I had like a little skirt on and I was like, I'm just being me. I'm just like becoming who I am. And I was like, I'm just now finding out I could have gone to an SEC school and married a rich guy. That was not an option presented to me. And I'm just learning this now. He's like, yeah, you're like a Southern Belle, like in reverse. I was like, I don't know. But
did you, I don't know if you said it, did your mom teach at your school?
No, which is good. I think that's weird. If like your parent is your teacher, that's got to be awkward.
It really throws a chink in the chain.
Yeah, Joe Begley had a funny story about that, about getting in trouble and then begging himself back into his mom was the cross country coach.
Yeah.
So he was like begging himself back into class because his mom was about to walk through. He's like, no, you got to let me in. You got to let me in.
Oh, so she wouldn't see that he got kicked out?
Yeah, so she wouldn't see that he got kicked out of class.
Oh, funny. Yeah.
Well, we have a couple questions.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
So we want to get into these questions. Kind of target at the psychology of your parents, the people that raised you. Okay.
I gotta go.
So the first one that we like to start with is, let's say that you are in your teen years, right? Let's say around like middle school. Okay. Your parents adopt John. John
I'm in the family now.
Yep, John is now your adopted brother. It's his first day in the house, and it is your assignment to give John the brief of the family dynamic. What is he to expect?
Wow. Mom is going to handle the cooking and cleaning. It'll be fine, but not great.
Okay.
Dad is not going to be around a lot because he works a lot. And then when he's here, don't like talk back or drop anything, or you're going to get like a very harsh glare.
Oh.
So just.
He was a glaring dad?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That scares me. I had a glarer. It makes you feel small.
Yes.
It really does. I think that's by design. Like when it just. You feel smaller now?
I don't feel good.
Okay. I glared.
Yeah, I saw.
Yeah.
I think I need to work on my fatherly glare.
That was a good glare.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was good.
If you need to.
I got 3 kids. I've had to glare.
Hang on, hit me with that again.
Ooh.
Oh.
You look like a historic war general.
Yeah.
The side profile.
I feel like a historic war general. We both know it's Civil War.
And you're wearing gray.
We both know which side.
We don't need to talk about what state you're from.
Yeah.
Fine.
Goddamn Duke.
I growing up around the Civil War war grounds. Like,
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
it was a big thing.
I took field trips to Gettysburg, so
Okay, yeah.
I know some things too.
That's
the farthest point. Did you know
I
that?
do know
Okay.
that. That my people don't
They
talk
got
about
up there.
Gettysburg very often.
Yeah.
Okay. It's
Still suffering from the L.
yeah. It's like the Patriots talking about that Super Bowl where they had the undefeated season. Yeah, they don't mention that very often.
And we're like, thank God we stopped them before they got any further.
Yeah, right.
Reason prevailed.
Yeah, that battle is the reason Robert E. Lee couldn't go home for a while.
Yeah.
But
Home was gone.
yeah, home. Well, that was That was
I was
thing.
actually, since we're talking, I was thinking about that whenever you're talking about Duke. I wonder if they're like, you can trace some of those like feelings back to the Civil War. I feel like there has to be something. Like I bet a bunch of Union, like a lot of Union money went into Duke, and Confederate money was still at North Carolina.
Wow.
I bet there's something.
Well, my motto is everything comes from something. So even hate, right? Hate definitely comes from somewhere. It's brewed.
Yeah.
The first person ever to go to the University of North Carolina, which was first day school in North Carolina, his name was Hinton James. And he walked, correct me on this if I'm wrong.
Okay.
I believe it's over 300 miles. It might have been 200 and something miles. Hinton James.
Yeah, you're right. Hinton James, first student to enroll at University of North Carolina. Yeah.
Keep going.
Why did he walk so far?
He is most famous for allegedly walking 170 miles from his hometown of Wilmington to Chapel Hill in 1795.
My goodness.
Yeah. That guy really wanted to learn.
Could you imagine walking 170 something miles to go to school?
That would be, you could really guilt trip your kids with that. Be like, back in my day, I walked 170 miles.
Absolutely, dude. That's
uphill both ways.
That's getting some homework done for years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hey, I walked 176 miles to get to school, boy.
Talk about leaving home. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, he did.
That guy.
On foot. You know what I mean? He wanted to leave.
Yeah.
I don't know what his home situation was, but I imagine it wasn't great.
Mm.
They're like, don't you want to go to like South Carolina? It's 60 miles away. He's like, nope, not far enough. My mom has legs too.
All right, so what? Go finish that one.
176 miles. I just want to say it's crazy.
It is. What were Christmases like?
Oh, well, when I was a kid, they were lovely because we would go to Pittsburgh where my grandma lived. My grandma is one of the best people that's ever lived. Just really like a living saint. You know, there are some of these people where you're like, oh my gosh, they're just so good. So that was lovely. And that was like everybody from all over the family would link up at the same place. But then, I mean, things just started to, actually after 9/11, my grandma was like, I want to make a life change. And she moved to Chicago with like kind of near my aunt and my uncle and 2 cousins. And then we weren't really sure like where Christmases were going to be.
Okay.
So then we still kind of never figured it out after that.
Was 9/11 like just how you timestamp
changed
it, or was it like, or was it like?
No, it really did change everything. I was 14. I remember it.
We talk about 9/11 a lot on this podcast.
Really?
It comes up
my
so
God.
often.
This is a 9/11 podcast.
Well, no, you got to think about it. Like,
It's
I
formative.
interview a lot of millennials.
Yeah.
A lot of people my age or around my age, and that's a huge moment in our
Super
childhood.
formative.
Okay, I actually, yes. And it's weird being, so many of the Austin comics are young, like they're in their 20s,
I know.
and they don't
Have any, I know.
and I'm like, that was such a thing.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just, I mean, it wasn't just a thing. It was the thing for years. And it actually, like, we saw, it was the only time in history that I think the country really truly came together.
Oh, yeah.
And we saw the cohesiveness just once. You know what I mean? We got like, it's kind of like when your dad holds you up and you get to see the peak of the mountain.
Yeah.
And then you back down. That's what that time was.
Yeah.
Where it's like we all got kind of raised up a little bit. We got to see that, we could all get along if somebody just kills 60,000 people at one time.
Yeah, straight up. Yeah. I am one of those 20-somethings. I'm 27.
Oh
so
my gosh.
I was there, but I don't have.
How old were you?
I was like 2, maybe 3. No memory. So I don't have
Yeah.
memories of. But the aftermath, my formative years is like, my first memories are like right after 9/11. So I have all my formative memories are the fuck yeah America thing.
Yeah.
And like I can attest to that. Like it hit me so hard that I was like, yeah, I'll join the Marine Corps. Like fuck that, you know? Like
I mean, people were joining, buddy, from 2000. I joined in 2005. From 2001 to 2005, I'd like to see what the enlistment numbers were.
oh, I'm sure it was
Are you Marines?
I was in the Army. I was in the
okay.
infantry. But yeah, I would love to see what the numbers were from 2001, just say 2006, as far as like military enlistment numbers, because patriotism was at an all-time high. And if you're gonna sell people into the military, patriotism has to be up there.
yeah.
And there's a certain scale.
Yeah, I definitely remember guys from my town being like, all right, I'm going to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Between 2001 and 2005, the armed forces averaged roughly 180,000 non-prior service enlisted ascensions, active duty component.
So they were recruiting basically 180,000 people a year during that time.
Yeah, let me look and see how that is compared to other years.
I mean, I don't imagine it was that much during peacetime, like during the
No.
90s.
No, I'm assuming.
No,
Because
I
also,
was-
I mean, you got to think like prior to that, I mean, everyone was still kind of living in like post-Vietnam kind of. I mean, you had like Desert Storm. Desert
yeah.
Storm was kind of,
But also, it was over so quick.
it was over so quick, but it was
Storm
like,
and Shield was
but it
not.
was like successful. It was
Yes.
like got in, got out. It was like not just the United States. It was the world
Yeah, conjoined
coming
effort, yeah.
together.
And it was so quick that people weren't like affected by an event and
Yeah.
then drawn to enlist. It was just
Yeah.
like if you were already active,
And yeah,
Yes.
this was different. And I think it also it challenged like our sense of security in a way that's hard to explain to people. Because I remember being like, but we're like America, we don't get attacked.
Mhm.
Like we're safe.
Yeah.
We're always safe here. And then it's just like, oh, like you're not.
No, you're not.
And it just
It
did
exposed that.
it changed how you think about that. And I think it made people kind of nervous to fly
hmm
in a way they hadn't been before.
Well, I was watching, I don't know if you've watched, I've been watching Mad Men. I'd never seen it.
I've seen every episode.
Okay. I'm in season 4 right now. I am a huge fan.
Yeah.
This is not the first time I'm watching the show. Not the second. I will watch this show again, is what I'm saying. And I'm like, no phone. I'm in every episode and I am loving this show. But the way they covered the Cuban Missile Crisis on that show, which happened during JFK's presidency, I thought was awesome because it really showed that the fear was like real, was palpable. You could almost taste it in the air that people were so fucking scared.
Yeah, they're
of that
really feeling
happening.
like this could be the end of the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you knew anything about that crisis and that conflict, very much almost was.
Hmm.
And the fear was like valid. Everyone should have been scared.
So I have the answer for that. So it's actually, we're totally wrong. We are so wrong. So through the 1980s, starting with the 80s to the end of the Cold War, it was actually almost double, 280,000 new recruits annually. Now that was their,
Wow.
yeah. Now after the fall of the Soviet Union, they reduced the, like their recruiting numbers
Yeah.
down to 180,000.
Okay.
And also, but people were enlisting. Like they weren't having any problem hitting that number. Post 9/11, they started having problems hitting that number.
Interesting.
And they were saying because during peacetime, people were more likely just sign up. But once Iraq and Afghanistan happened, they were having to like put in a bunch of like incentives and stuff like that, which is crazy. I would have never guessed
Me
that.
neither, but also it does make sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, it takes a real nut job to want to like go and,
we knew some
die.
wild ones.
Well, not just that. It was the lack of certainty. It was Afghanistan attacked us, but we're fighting Iraq. And I think that confused a lot of people.
Yeah.
They're like, Osama bin Laden's behind this, but we're attacking Saddam Hussein.
Yeah.
And so it was the difference, between Al Qaeda and the Taliban, which is, two different bands.
Yeah.
It's two different groups. And so I think a lot of people were confused by the fact that we got attacked by the Taliban, but we're attacking Al Qaeda.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure, I'm hypothesizing this, right? I have no real idea.
It is interesting that we were wrong because when it's real, then you have to really, really want to do that. You have to really want to serve.
Yeah.
But if you're just like, oh, this seems like they're offering me like, if I serve, I'll get some benefits.
Yeah.
But that was like, you're probably going to go there.
Yeah.
And people, I mean, I don't want to speak. I feel like insane, like speaking to someone who's served, like I feel like it's insane.
No, yeah.
But like, I'm just thinking about right now, I have a friend who's a naval officer and like her family's Navy and she's brilliant and she's great at it. But when we started this shit with Iran, she was like, hey, I'm deploying. So I'm just calling you. And I can't really tell you like where. And I was like, oh, would you happen to be going to the Strait of Hormuz? And she was like, can't really tell you about that. But we talked about, I was like, how are you feeling? And she was like I'm exactly where I need to be. And like, she'd already been like rapidly promoted and like, she's so good.
Yeah.
But she's like, some people are like dropping off or getting discharged. Cause like once it becomes real, like we're going, some people just fully like spiral.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's also it goes down to like the moral thing, exactly like with Iraq and Afghanistan. It's confusing. Like, wait, why is this happening? And then it comes into the moral dilemma, which doesn't hit everybody.
Well, it was the mistrust of government,
yes,
right? There's still people that 9/11's an inside job, right? It's rhetoric that has been repeated over and over and over again.
Yeah.
To the point where it's not a subculture, it's culture.
Yeah.
There's a huge, giant group of people that believe that 9/11 was an inside job.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't just believe it, they fucking believe it.
Yeah.
And they know it.
Yeah.
And they know that it was an inside job.
Yeah.
And when you are battling that type of logic, I think that was like, it was just as much of a logical war as it was a physical war, because you're battling what you perceive the government to be versus what they actually are.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very confusing time because you remember the phrase was weapons of mass destruction.
Yeah.
They have weapons of mass
WMDs.
destruction.
WMDs.
It was Dick Cheney's architecture.
Yeah.
That,
But Dick Cheney also owned every laundromat in Iraq.
A lot of people made a lot of money off that war.
Dick Cheney owned a lot of the defects. He owned a lot of the shit that, he owned. He was the former, CEO of Northrop Grumman, or it was one of the big defense contractor sites.
Contractors.
Yeah.
Do you feel like people our age who saw 9/11 and the post 9/11 world were watching like the Iran stuff, like we're probably looking and feeling differently than the Gen Z?
Yeah, I think we're more conditioned to it.
We're like, we've seen this shit before.
Yeah, this isn't our first time in the Middle East. We've been there.
And
we've
it
done
generally becomes a giant mess.
Absolutely. And we fought the Taliban for how many years?
20.
And now women don't get an education.
Yeah.
They're essentially slaves.
And not to mention, I mean, a fucking terrible exit that we had.
Slavery is basically legal in Afghanistan now. If you're it's a woman.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've.
No, we're nation building. That's what we do.
Yeah. The funny thing is, I read this not long ago, but the Taliban, former freedom fighters for the Taliban, that's what they call themselves. They are working like 9 to 5 jobs now. The Taliban has taken over Afghanistan. Like they're working like as admin. accountants.
I can't wait to see their Mad Men.
Yeah.
I think they've already done Mad Men. I think they're doing Mild Men.
Well,
now.
Like that's a part of the internet you don't want to see.
It's going to be present day.
Okay.
Let me tell you something. You don't want to see their Mad Men.
I don't. Yeah, I have a lot of guy friends, and sometimes I'm like, "What is this trend?" And they're like, "You don't need to look into that." And I'm like, "Okay, thank you."
But they're complaining now about having to work like 9 to 5s. And they're like, this is so stressful. Like I can't believe this. Like Americans do this. And like, and I can imagine them going to HR and be like, I used to blow people up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I used to have cause. Like I used to kill Americans.
Yeah.
And now I'm dealing with Bethany from HR. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Taliban.
Yeah. Hey, the Middle East, you know, it's a wild world. All right, let's do another question. Let's get it back. Let's get it back on topic.
This became the Mideast podcast for a moment.
we take this wherever it needs to go. You
the
know?
map behind you is making it all feel more legitimate.
Yeah.
I was like, we're global experts.
I feel like we're in a war room right now.
Yeah, we are. We're plotting. Who's next? Okay. Let's say that you were caught with a misdemeanor size amount of drugs.
Oh.
Okay. No jail time, maybe some community service, light work, but still got to go to court for it. Which parent would be more likely to take the rap for you?
Neither. They'd be like, you're going to child jail. Drugs. Oh my God. I wasn't allowed to like speak when I wasn't supposed to be talking. Drugs. That's funny.
Drugs were such a foregone conclusion.
I was like, no, that's not even like part of reality.
Okay. So now, we're still in court. Okay. Remove drugs from the equation.
Right.
Which parent would you rather have defend you in court?
Oh, okay. My dad, just because he's more of an asshole. Because my mom would just cry and be like, she's trying. But my dad would like look up like the laws. He'd look up the laws and build a case. Yeah. And he'd show up in like a suit. And I remember my dad used to show up like late to all of our basketball games in like a full suit and like a trench coat. And he was already like kind of going gray and had like a mustache and glasses. And one of the guys on my brother's basketball team was like, yo, your dad looks like Monopoly, man. But yeah, he could definitely hold his own in court.
Were your parents tall? Is that yours?
My dad's 6 feet tall and he was an athlete. He was a runner and basketball player. My mom is like 5'6", just kind of like normal lady.
My dad was 6'9".
Damn.
Yeah, my dad was 6'9", 300 pounds when he died.
Wow.
He was huge.
What age was he when he passed away?
47.
Wow.
Yeah, big people don't, like, big dudes, they don't live long, dude.
One of the Philly guy comics said that to me. They're like, enjoy your life. People of your height, they don't live long. And I was like, oh, fuck out of here.
Like, Jesus Christ, dude.
Bigger target, I don't know.
You're not Andre the Giant.
I know, I was like, I don't have like that, like, giant condition. I'm just tall.
Giantitis? Is that what it's called? Something like that? Gigantuous or something?
What grade did your mom teach?
Well, first she taught like, she was a Spanish teacher. And then she taught like ESL, when children move in and they don't like from Mexico and they don't know how to speak English. Yeah, uh-huh. She taught like those.
Okay.
Those folks.
That was her specialty. She just did that pretty much forever.
Before I was born, she actually sold insurance, which is kind of cool.
Okay. My mom did too for a short time.
Whoa, look at us.
Farm. Yeah.
I don't know. I forget the name. So that's cool to think of my mom having this like 80s business girl era before I was born.
Shoulder pads.
Definitely.
Very cool.
Lots of brown shoulder pad blazer fits. Yeah. But like when I was, she was home with us when we were really little and then she got the teaching job. So they were just all education all the time.
Yeah.
And also with my dad being a school superintendent, it was like, you really can't get in trouble because I'm like in the newspaper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
also,
like
I've learned that you're attached to your parents' legacy and that you're a part of it. And that's was super profound for me to learn because I always look at it like I've got two legacies. I've got a legacy as a father and I've got a legacy as a comic, right? And I can kind of differentiate those. But in other situations where you got someone whose legacy is education, it's kind of a little bit more meshed and they tie together a little bit more. Whereas like nothing that happens with my kids is going to affect me as a comic. If anything, it's going to make me a better comic.
True.
If my son gets arrested, I've got a good story. You know what I mean? It's currency if my kids are fucked up.
Yeah, that's a good point. I never thought about it that way. Because if they were just like salespeople and they were like, "Oh, you kids have fun,"
Yeah,
but it was more like we're in like the community and the world, and
absolutely.
you're in it too, and
they have a legacy of responsibility, education, all these things, structure, and so of course, they couldn't have a kid that would jeopardize that.
Actually, my brother, there was some like. There's like National Honor Society in high school. There was like a lot of beef over who got like picked to be in it. Yeah. And then one of the guys was really funny, one of the kids, and he created like an unhonorable society and they made like, they screen printed t-shirts and they made their own like little.
That's great.
And it actually was like covered in the local newspaper because it was like, it's kind of interesting. They were like calling out.
Yeah, kind of revolting a little bit.
Yeah. And my brother like was hanging out with them and he had the shirt and he was like at the last minute, he like stepped out of the picture. And my dad was like, thank God, because it was in the local, like in our city newspaper. Yeah. And he's like, if you were in that with our last name on it, what the?
Yeah.
So just little things like that. And like, that's cool. My brother is very savvy. He's gone on to do very well in business and tech. And he's always kind of had a good, like been cool, but like know where to toe the line and kind of keep things smooth. I was just like, I cannot make a mistake ever.
Do you feel like that pressure shaped you? Like you feel like that pressure from your parents like kind of shaped you into who you are?
Yeah, I think there were some good benefits. If you grow up in a strict discipline environment, you are pretty much like locked in and you like don't get in trouble. And I mean, I think some people rebel and go crazy, but I was like, okay, I was like, I was a great student.
Yeah.
And, but then the downside of it is I think I was like always trying to like please them or prove myself to them in some way.
You think you saw them as right?
Because they wouldn't allow me to think otherwise.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I thought I would just be like an academic person. So I actually got a master's degree and then I was like, I'll just keep it going. I'll be a college professor. And I actually got a PhD degree, which I don't bring up around comics because it's like weird. But I did.
You have a PhD?
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
That's wild. How long did that take you to get?
Well, I did it faster than they said because I'm a psycho. But they were like, it's a 5-year program, but it takes people like 5 to 7 years. And I was like, watch me do it in 4. And it was like 4.5.
Like you have to dumb yourself down so much to talk to the average comic. I would say most comics you would have to.
It's fun. But I was like, this, like, because now we're just hanging. We're like, oh yeah, we're both the same age. Both like remember 9/11. We both have our own mental problems for sure. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely files in the psychologist's office that are like interesting, about me. So
me too.
But so we share that. But like where we differ, it's like I was such an academic psycho that I was like, I'm getting a PhD degree before I turn 30, and I did. And then I kind of had a mental breakdown because I was like, I don't want to do any of this.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was it in?
Writing and rhetoric.
Okay.
So I'm
but you're kind of doing it. Yeah. Not using it.
Yeah. I mean, but then my parents being such like academic, achievement-minded people where that's kind of their only way of measuring success.
Yeah.
We're just like, what are you doing? Because I was like, I don't want to be a professor. I'm going to go back to Philly. I'm just going to like be a bartender for a while and go to see all my friends' bands play and like figure out what I want to do.
Yeah.
And then like I got into comedy and then they were just like, what are you doing? You're like ruining your life basically. And I was like, no, I'm finally finding the way I want to live. But they can't really see that.
Even to now?
Well, I just got a little letter in the mail today actually from my dad and it was like, it seems like comedy is going well. Which is probably the biggest compliment I'm going to get.
That's awesome. So, some encouragement is better than none.
But you know what's
handwritten too.
Yeah.
That's nice.
You know what's ironic though? It's like the path may look like I'm a fuck up if you have a conventional mind. Cause it's like you achieve this and then you are going to go do other weird stuff. But to me, I'm like, I finally am carving out like who I want to be and the way I want my life set up. And right now I'm so happy with how my life is. It's like incredible. Cause I'm like, I have a full-time job, but it's remote. So I know I'm going to get that steady paycheck. I know I'm going to get great health insurance and I don't have to be like the man is breathing down my neck. I don't have to sit in a cubicle, which made me crazy.
Yeah.
I get to
Yeah.
just work on my computer and be in Austin or be on the road if I want to go on the road.
Yeah.
And I get to do comedy as much as I can, which
Yeah.
is like a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm like, it doesn't even matter to me anymore about trying to prove like, no, there's like reasons why I'm like, I know that this is like exactly what I want. And then I'm like, if you can't see it, like, fine. But like, I'm just so happy to finally be at a point where I'm like, oh, dude, finally, like, this feels comfortable. I was talking to my uncle. He's kind of my most confidant friend in the family. And I was like, you know how if you're trying on jackets at the store and you put one on, you're like, I could probably like make this work. Like, then sometimes you just put on a jacket and you're like, oh yeah, like, let's go.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
like I want to
Yeah.
wear this out of the store.
Yeah.
And I'm like, finally feel that way about my life, which is like huge. And it's just so good. Because
Yeah,
then any
That's
other
awesome.
any other little like stressors or bullshit that comes at you, you're like, you know, it kind of rolls off
Yeah.
easier because you're like, you know, I'm all right. But I
yeah.
think it's also just growing up too.
But I also think too that there's something to, I mean, you put in the work whenever you put in the work at a young age and you grind. And then after you are successful in that, I do think that there's something to
I retired.
not retired, but just
I've retired from school.
think like earning it, you know? It's like, well, it's like you already have like this thing and like you busted your ass off to give yourself a nest egg, you know, of whatever that is, just proving that you can do that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But to me, it's almost like a work ethic, you know,
Yeah.
like showing that you have that and then being able to like, not even take off the gas, like let up on the gas, but just explore, like you're saying.
True. That's a nice way to look at it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
100%. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's good to like complete something in life and be like, okay, well, I did that, so no one can take that away from me, and then
Exactly.
I can go do whatever I want.
Yeah.
But whatever I want to me is like, I want to have a good life that I like, that works for me, and I
Mhm.
want to have more control of my time,
Yeah,
and not be doing stuff I don't want to do, and not be like pretending to be somebody that I'm not.
for sure.
Mm.
Yeah. And that's why you become a comedian. So you can be yourself. And
Absolutely.
be crazy. And then they hand you a check and you go, this is crazy.
Yeah. It always blows my mind when they pay me to do comedy. It's wild.
Last question from me. What were family dinners like? Did you guys have a regiment?
We did sit down and have family dinner together a lot. I mean, it was just in the dining room and not a whole lot of banter.
Mhm.
Pretty claustrophobic.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably my favorite thing to do nowadays is literally just to have conversations with people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just love to meet up with a friend and just talk about life and what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like fresh air to me. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so lovely. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't really need, I'm not like, let's go to the club. Like,
Yeah.
I just love the app
Yeah.
and listen and learn. And you really couldn't do that at my house. It was like really just strict and controlled. If you're like, I have it, they were like, no. So
Kind of like you're a child. kinda
yeah,
thing.
I'm the parent, you're the child, shut up.
Right.
Which I think is common for people of that era.
Yeah.
But also I've met a lot of people that aren't like that. And then I'm like, okay. And I'm also, sometimes I'm like, what the hell? Like, you're educators, like, children are people. Like, you
Mhm.
weren't listening to me.
Yeah.
And then like also that never changed. And we don't really talk now because I like the last conversations we've had, I was like, hey, when I talk, you don't listen.
Right.
And then and I was like, I don't know what else to do. And I
You
was
think they hear what they want to hear?
I just think I don't think they're interested in me or my life.
Mm.
And
Or what you wanted your life to be?
well, I would
Do you
be
think
like,
they had more of an interest in what they wanted it to be?
I think it's all about them.
Yeah.
I don't think they really care about a lot outside it, as bad as that sounds. But I would be like talking to my mom and being like, I'm trying to explain something to you, and I just see like her gaze wander. And I'm like, you're not listening.
Mm.
And it's
There's
not that
the
I'm
dis-
not interesting.
Yeah.
People freaking pay to see me talk.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just
How do you think you connect? How do you think there's a way?
we'll see. But for right now, I was like, I need to get confident enough in my life that doesn't bother me.
Oh, yeah.
And then if they're like, say something rude or offhand or seem disinterested, I'll be like, whatever. I know I'm doing okay. But when I was still I'm moving to a city where I barely know anyone. I'm my finances are really on the wire, like this is scary and I'm on my own.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't need to hear it right now, you know?
Yeah.
So it's just weird, but yeah. And then there's certain things they're like, you need to learn a lesson. And then you get older and you're like, what was the lesson? I think it was kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
Or it was something you said conveniently to serve yourself. So yeah, it's kind of a bummer. I feel like part of growing up is like thinking about your parents being like, you're a disappointment. And then being like, no, you are. As bad as that sounds.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of how I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which sucks. But you know, you kind of have to think through these things because they don't go away. Something I've also been thinking, like, I feel like there's like language used of like, oh, do you have like closure? Or like, did you get over it? And now I'm like, you can like learn to process things and like integrate them so that you can function and like be wise. But I don't think we ever really get over it in a way of like what happened to you, like happened. And like, that's always going to be part of your experience.
I had a therapist tell me that.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I should be a therapist.
I literally had a therapist tell me there are some things that you will never get over, and that's okay.
Isn't it a relief to hear someone say that though?
Absolutely, yeah.
And yeah,
yeah,
it's brilliant.
I didn't mean to be rude. I was on the phone. I was trying to book an Uber.
To leave the conversation.
To get someone over here. It's
just like being on a date for me.
It's working while working.
I'm like, I think this is going well. The guy's like, I'm actually heading out.
No, it was to get the next person here.
Actually, I got one more thing. So what about your grandparents? Quick on them. Were they educators also? Or where did your parents kind of...
No. So my dad's side, my paternal grandparents, the grandma Angel, saint, everything. I try to live like her every day. Brilliant. Just, I can't even explain what a fantastic person. The husband, alcoholic. And also they had my dad when they were like teens. They were like broke teens.
Yeah.
So you see how that could really, that's a hard life.
Yeah.
And then similarly on my mom's side, they were farmers. So they were, I don't think my grandfather went to school past 8th grade.
Were they both from that town?
My dad was from Pittsburgh
okay.
in the city.
Yeah.
And then my mom was from like a farm in Western Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Shout out to Allegheny County.
I think they're Cambria County, but real close. Allegheny for Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh's Allegheny. I lived in Weirton, West Virginia.
Interesting.
Weirton, New Cumberland. I graduated high school from East Liverpool, Ohio, and I worked in Irwin, PA.
Okay, that sounds familiar.
It's right outside of Pittsburgh.
Okay.
So at one point, I was going to sleep in West Virginia, going to school in Ohio, and then working in Pennsylvania. I had all three.
Yeah, I feel like my cousin Joe was working in a coal mine in West Virginia and like commuting to it.
And there was coal miners, kids that went to my school.
Hell yeah, this is the real. But also, I feel like I have been talking shit on my family, which. But I do want to say one of the cool things about my life and my family is some people have gone on to be like pretty successful. And then some people have stayed kind of small town. But I think what's cool is I get to hang out with everybody.
Yeah.
So like some people later in life, you just make friends and they're like, you're chill. You can like hang. And I'm like, yeah, dude, I can hang because I have family that's like, we're having a campfire.
Yeah.
We're having a bunch of Coors Lights. And then I have family that's like, we'll be going to the opera and we'll have dinner before.
Yeah.
Don't be late.
Maybe a glass of wine.
Yeah. So, I'm like, oh, I don't really judge people's idea of fun and I'm kind of up for whatever.
Yeah.
And I think it's cool because I think if you grow up like really poor, that can be hard. If you grow up really rich, that can actually get weird. But I'm like, I kind of feel like a pretty versatile.
That's awesome.
I'm grateful for like having seen a lot of different ways to live and I'm just open-minded to like a lot of kind of people.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. That's nice.
I love that perspective.
Yeah.
And no way did we think that you're talking, shit about your family. That's not something that we ever want people to feel because what you're doing is you're talking about your experience.
Yeah.
That's
and it's
true.
a common feeling that we've gotten like on some episodes too, with like sometimes people get like self-conscious about it, but it is just your perspective.
Yeah.
And I think everyone's entitled.
And in
Everyone's
no
entitled
way
to that.
whatsoever, do we judge any set of parents for how they raise kids? Because now we have the perspective of how hard it is and how difficult
you're
it
a parent,
is. What was that?
Like, because you're a parent yourself.
Oh yeah, because I'm a parent myself, but also like, life is difficult on its own. Adding kids to it makes it even more so.
Mm-hmm.
Because not only you're responsible for your experience, you're responsible for someone else's. And I think parenting's the hardest thing, one of the hardest things that you can do in life. Because no matter how right you do it, there's still a great chance that you can do it wrong.
Yeah.
Because of the kid or because of, whatever experience they have. And I just think that, I've learned to be a lot more empathetic when it comes to parents.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a lot more empathy to the experience of how difficult it is just, not only for me to be raised and, the fucking crazy mess that was,
Mm-hmm.
but, how difficult it's been for me having even the perspective I have to give my kids somewhat of a normal upbringing and, try to fill in the gaps that are left from my absence. And, I was watching, Mad Men, and I brought it up on the last episode, and I'll bring it up on this one. Don Draper said something that I thought was so poignant when it comes to the experience of a dislocated father. And he said, I miss them, and then I pick them up, and then I don't know what to do. He goes, and then I drop them off, and I'm relieved.
Interesting.
He goes, and then I miss them. And it's this constant circle. And it's very poignant when it comes to the experience of a dislocated dad. Because it's really hard to plug back in and feel like you're making a difference. Because you're not there every day. And so I've had to learn to mitigate, those feelings of guilt, those feelings of shame, and instead replace it with, connection, construction, those type of things. But that hasn't come without, an arduous fucking journey to get there. And it was a goal of mine, was to honor myself as a father. Because I haven't always done that.
That's great. And it's good probably just to recognize or name like, oh yeah, this is like emotionally jarring to have like them in and out and like pick up and drop off. And like
Absolutely.
this and this repeated cycle of this is like a feature of my life now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, one of the main things like with this, like what we're doing is also just kind of, you can never give like, I'm not a parent yet, but also I think the B plot for this is me like, hopefully having a kid in a few years, hopefully.
I think you should. You're a great listener.
I try my best.
And you're good at like finding facts online.
Yeah. I've been bullshitting everything. But
I'm gonna be a good uncle to that kid.
Yeah. It's Uncle John.
I do feel like I have like the fun aunt energy. I'm like, it's your birthday. Here's money. It's cash. You know, like,
I'm definitely fun uncle to my brother's kids.
Also, Dick Cheney was CEO of Halliburton.
Oh, that's right.
Yep. Well, we always close this up. One simple thing
by talking about Dick Cheney.
And
he's everywhere.
You kind of already done it in a way.
Yeah.
But if you had one piece of parenting advice to give to everybody out there raising a kid based on your own childhood, what would you tell other parents?
You have to be kind with them in a way that they can talk to you. That's the number one. Because like, I really felt like as a child and even now, if I have a problem, I can't go to them because they don't want to hear it. Or if they do hear it, they're not going to give me any helpful advice. That's not good. That's really not good. And then I've met people and they're like, oh, if I'm having a problem, the first thing I do is call my mom and dad and help them. They help me think it through it. And I'm like, what? People have that? I've been reading memoirs by people and they're like, I got a job opportunity, but I didn't know if it was good. So I did the first thing I do. I called my dad and I'm like throwing the book across the room. I'm like, you could call them for advice. So yeah, I don't think it's easy to do, but I think you have to be a person that they can talk to.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Absolutely.
the number one. That's the number one. And you don't have to know all the answers, but you have to be open that they can go to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
I love that. I have
It's
difficulty
fabulous.
with that with my middle child, where she's like the one that talks the least. She's the one that I want to talk the most.
Mhm.
I want to know what she's thinking,
Mhm.
but she keeps it all inside. So it's definitely something that I can relate to. That I've struggled with myself.
Are your kids all girls?
I've got 2 girls, 1 boy.
Is the boy the younger?
Yeah, he's the youngest.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. They're good kids, man. I've got no complaints. Yeah, they're great kids.
They'll be on the podcast in a few years. And then we'll hear all about it.
They're going to start their own podcast.
We were actually running through
John's son.
John's
kids.
Yeah, we're running through the dry run for this and doing all the test footage, trying to figure out what we're gonna do. I had my son on.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He was a way better personality than I was. I was shocked at
My
this
goodness.
kid.
How old is he?
He was, I think, 10 at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah, he's 11 now, getting ready to be 12.
Yeah. Good
Crazy.
kid. A good kid.
A good kid, man. He's funny. My son, he's so funny.
I don't know where the hell he gets that from.
Mildly racist. Mildly racist. It's a thing. I've had to correct it a lot. But yeah, this has been another one. We did one.
Yes, we did.
It's good, man. This is a great episode.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you for
absolutely.
being here. You want to let them know where they can find you?
Yes, please follow my Instagram at Gretchen Dietz _ and please come to my headlining show at Fallout Theater on August 22nd at 7 p.m.
Let's go.
Hey, it's the
you.
day before my birthday.
Let's go.
We'll be celebrating John's birthday. Are you coming to? It's only an hour, so it'll be lovely.
That's awesome. I'll be there. I'll for sure be there. August
Amazing.
22nd, Fallout Theater here in Austin, Texas. Make sure you go. Check out Gretchen.
Mhm.
This has been great. And you've been, part of the family. Thank you for being here. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep liking, subscribing, sharing, and we'll keep doing what we're doing by trying to be the best damn podcast in the whole wide world.
Damn right.
I love you so much. Thank you for coming in.
Bye.
Did your mama lie? Did your daddy make you cry? Hey, it's Tammy's boy. Tammy's boy. Tammy's boy. Hey, it's Tammy's boy.
They can subscribe. Why can't they? What would ever prevent them from subscribing?
Well, that's the question. Why wouldn't you subscribe?
It's like, you know what I mean? Subscribe if you can. No, you can.
You can. It's
What?
free, actually.
People with nubs for arms can do it with their tongue, dude. You got this.
You got this.
I believe
Listen,
in you.
we believe in you.
Yeah.
Subscribe.